Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and I have back on the program Claude Charlebois, visionary photographer, and we're going to be talking today about the power of art and healing, and also the power of some of the great artists of our day, particularly Leonardo Da Vinci. We'll talk about some of the Da Vincian principles. Thanks, Claude. Why is art so important?
Well, how do we inspire ourselves? And what does inspiration do? It shows us something that is removed and different from popular reality or from daily reality. Art contributes something expanded of our perception of reality, all right? Every human being...
Art expands our reality,
yes,
you're saying. Okay.
Exactly. One thing that's very precious and that's undermined in our society is the realization that every human being has his own perspective on the universe, okay? And we have to develop a high respect for that, and that's what art does also. Because if it's a reality based, for instance, on religious belief, or on political perceptions or whatever.
Or emotional trauma.
Exactly.
Or, you know, what's that picture of the woman sitting in the field? Catherine's World. You know, I just saw that at the Museum of Modern Art. It's like, that showing me a perception of a framed reality that, but also enlarges inside myself somehow. It becomes my reality.
Well, it speaks to you. It vibrates according to your perception of reality. Right?
And adds to it, right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, what I'm talking about, the mutual respect I'm talking about is that your perception of reality might be different than mine, but you're enlarging my vision by contributing this. And we spend too much time arguing about perception of reality. I've had many examples in my life of people that have totally opposed views, and they're both right. I mean, our omniscience is so small that we could be the observer at the front of the boat, saying that the universe is a body of water coming towards us that is calm. But the guy in the back says, no, 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 no. The universe is a body of troubled water moving away from us. They're both right. So why should they argue?
And what you give people, like in this picture or in this beautiful image here, is inspiration.
That's right.
It's the glory of a sunrise. What are you trying to say with this? And are you surprised that, oh my God, I took this picture, you say?
Well, if I like a picture a few years after it's taken, I usually find that it has more substance than another. But yeah, this is my personal vision that I'm sharing with people. Some people couldn't care less, and some people are so moved by it, which is to me the highest compliment. I've had people cry in front of my work because they recognize something in it that is greater in themselves, or they are reminded of something they are by looking at the art. And that's art can be used for very very fearful and negative purposes, or it can be used for a higher purpose. In other words, it can be used for the mundane or the divine.
Now, do you know what you're trying to say in this, or is it a pure feeling essence?
Heavens, I hope not.
You hope you don't.
I hope I cannot perceive everything that I'm trying to say in this, because I think that when you're certain of everything in art, you're missing the point, or you're offering something that has a very limited perspective.
But you take someone like Leonardo Da Vinci, and I really want to get into that. Here's a genius in science, but his art, it sort of seems like it's mapped out. He does the Last Supper. He maps, he kind of puts these figures into certain form. I mean, incredibly creative, the motion of the hands and the images and the face. What's he doing in his paintings? Because I know you studied, and then how do you apply those principles to your photography?
Well, what I apply from the Da Vincian principles in my life are the immense virtues that you need to be a creative individual. Let's face it, I mean, when you study the human potential, you cannot sidestep Leonardo da Vinci.
No.
He's traditionally considered as the most multi-dimensional genius that ever lived.
Because he invented science, he invented the, I mean, just had drawings for helicopters, submarines, parachutes, I mean, in the 1400s. And so he was a visionary as a scientific thinker, and then he was an incredibly influential artist. I mean, he said it was shadow that defined form. Before that, everyone had a line. No, he said it was the shading. And so then what is it about, specifically about those principles?
Yeah, well, he opened the door. He opened the Renaissance and to a new reality.
There you go.
And when you study the man, our education only shows us the superficial side of Da Vinci. To be able to go deeper in that, you have to sort of scratch the surface and look at the qualities in the individual. And when you discover that, you sort of wonder how one human being could have so much effulgence of creativity in one time and space.
Like what? Let's go below the surface. Let's go there.
So, when you look at his body of notebooks, for instance, like right now there's 6,000 to 7,000 pages that we know of. But we're still discovering some to this day, all right? We're still discovering, even recently, some paintings that have been attributed to him. But you know, like the historians say that we most likely have lost half of this to history or to time. So that would situate his writings to 10 to 12,000 pages, 10 to 14,000 pages. So if you break this down in books of 200 pages, that means the man in his lifetime would have written the equivalent of 70 books. Now, look at his notebooks. They're works of art. Every one of them is not secondhand knowledge. Everything is, whether he's doing an autopsy, whether he's drawing architecture, whether he's inventing a machine, it's all original thinking, you see?
He said, look at clouds and imagine what shapes they remind you of, what animals or what forms. So, I mean, he had active process in the imagination, using imagination, which is probably how he was able to create those things.
Well, he was able to coin and put together all of the qualities of the best creative mind that you can find. There's an excellent work by Michael Gelb. He wrote the book How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci. Now he's done beautiful work on that, and he's coined 7 virtues that Da Vinci had that make up the ideal artist. And
what are those?
Well, the first one is curiosity. Leonardo was known as being the man that wanted to know everything, all right? And that's the first premise to creativity, is looking around you and trying to analyze and understand everything that you see.
And also overcoming your assumptions, because as soon as you take someone else's word for the nature of reality, it puts you in a box. People like Leonardo da Vinci, William Blake, you know, who also said it's the creativity in us. The imagination is man, is humanity. That's who we are. So that's a great principle, a constant curiosity.
That's the first virtue. You know, in the workshops that Michael Gelb gives, and I mentioned that in mine, we take a very close look to every one of those, and it's a discovery unto itself.
Well, you give creativity workshops too. So what are the Da Vincian principles?
Okay, the number 2 would be the refinement of the senses. Right? And sort of he redefines the way he perceives reality. All right? So he no longer tastes or smells, he savors. He no longer touches, he merges. He no longer hears, he listens. He no longer looks, he sees. And the principle behind seeing is a very Zen thing, and it's very deep. So that's the second thing.
Oh, that's why. Let me just absorb that in. So he is not superficially relating to any aspect of reality. In a way, he's very Zen. He's very present and attentive, and making the moment sacred for all that he's experienced. So experience becomes a sacred doorway between personality and spirit.
It takes the numbness out of perception.
You
see, if we're submitted to so much information in our daily lives, and we become numb to this. Now, redefining the way we perceive is like an amplifier.
I like that, taking the numbness out of perception. Yes, yeah, good.
So that's a very important, it's very fundamental in all that. Now, what does that do? You're curious, you heighten your senses to perceive a different way, so you have an input of information. Now, the third quality is the power of demonstration, all right? And I'm going to hold on to this for now because it's just a way of managing the input, the knowledge that is coming into you, okay?
The other thing I want to say about heightened senses, I was talking to a painter who was painting an apple. She says, oh my God, there's so many colors and details to this simple apple. It itself is a work of art, although I think that nature actually doesn't produce works of art. Nature presents the background because it's only through perception that art manifests. You can see a beautiful sunset, but it's not until someone takes a picture does it become art. Nature exists in its beauty as a canvas for us to create upon. But anyway, so the third is demonstration.
Yep.
And what does that do? Or you'll get back to that.
I'll get back to that.
Okay,
basically, it's taking what you perceive and proving the principles that it enunciates. Because,
like in demonstrating it with your...
Well, that's an example, a visual example of that. But this is a whole process, right? Yeah. The fourth one is the most fascinating one.
Okay.
All right. Michael Gelb calls the fourth one sfumato. Okay. Sfumato essentially is a painting technique that is like synonym of touching like an angel. All right. Da Vinci's brushstroke was so fine that even if you X-ray his paintings, you cannot see brushstrokes. So he had this additive. When you were speaking about shadow before, and he created this volume. Like for instance, in the Mona Lisa, it's a yardstick in art history. That's where the whole perception of portraiture changed. He brought that.
How did it change portraiture?
Because it's non-linear anymore. The shadows that he added, the modulation, they almost look airbrushed.
But how has that changed portraiture?
Because that's not the way that artists treated portraiture before.
Wait, so the shadows on the face, how is it different than other
By using shadow to increase volume.
Volume meaning?
Volume, the definition, the way that the picture takes on a three-dimensional quality.
Oh, so he was the first to...
Well, he was one of the first.
Or the best, in a sense.
He was the best, yeah.
To create shadows in the face, and of course...
Among other things, yes.
And of course those shadows create that kind of elusive smile of the Mona Lisa that is like... What's happening? She's smiling and not smiling at the same time. So that's through this technique called...
Well, it's part of it, but there's more to the Mona Lisa than that, of course.
I mean, I was saying to you on the phone, I love John the Baptist, his last completed painting, where this sort of androgynous looking being is emerging out of the darkness. And there's all these spirals in it, and there's one hand going to the heart and one hand going up. I mean, he's obviously telling us something really key on a spiritual level and on a just fundamental physical level.
Exactly.
But anyway, there's so much to Da Vinci.
So the sfumato principle, to come back to this, is the ability of the individual to think abstractly. Right? All of our education is geared towards rational thought.
Why abstractly? If you can't see the brushstroke, the details, how does that stimulate abstract thought?
It doesn't refer to a painting in itself. It refers to a way of thinking that uses both the right and the left brain. All right?
Okay.
So the ability to think abstractly is the virtue of the artist to live with paradox comfortably.
That is one of the virtues of ours, and actually to then integrate paradoxes into a presentation.
Yeah, and that's essential because the more you learn, the more you know, the less sure you are of things, and the more paradox there is in your life. And if you're not comfortable with abstract thinking, that creates an uncertainty because it's not solid ground.
Right.
And then you shun away from creativity because you're not comfortable in embracing abstract non-thought, I should say.
Well, that's exactly why I do this show. I think the more we embrace paradox, the more our reality expands, because the mind is then constantly working in creative ways to resolve paradox. And then the byproduct of that is a new reality.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
and again, that's my favorite part, and that's the core heart of the artistic mind and the creative mind. And that's what we are lacking. But we have to move on. The fifth,
there's so much to say about that. I'm just, but the fifth, okay, yeah, because I think
the fifth virtue is called the grace of the body. It's the notion that your body is important for you to be a vehicle for creativity, so you have to take care of it. It's basically the principle, a sound body, a sound mind in a sound body.
This is a Da Vincian principle.
Yeah,
that comes. How does that come through in his work?
Well, it comes through in his beingness rather than in his work. He was always wearing very elegant clothing, and if I hadn't studied Da Vinci and understood the role of elegance, I would probably have moved away from Kenneth Mills, because Kenneth Mills' life was a testament to elegance, but he didn't use elegance for ego purposes. He used elegance as a way to attempt to show the grandeur of being. And Da Vinci always wore very refined clothes, and he was apparently a very handsome man, and he was very strong physically also. Apparently there's some people say he could bend a horseshoe, a metal horseshoe.
But I think it does come through in his work, the embodiment of that beauty of being, because all his forms have classical, you know, Jesus at the Last Supper. It's classical and casual at once. It's the embodiment of great spirit in a simple gesture, like the Madonna on the Rocks, even, or all these they're casual poses that embody greatness. So there's something about that embodiment of form that you sense. Their intention in that, in communicating something.
What you feel and what you're describing is the elegance of the bodily form, and that's also due to his great knowledge of anatomy. But he was also an example of this. He was very graceful. Apparently, Vasari was his biographer, wrote that people would stop on the street to watch him go by because he was a picture of grace. Now, is that fact or fantasy? I don't know.
Well, the Vitruvian Man, you know, is supposed to be a self-portrait. Have you heard that?
Apparently, yes. That's a theory.
So anyway, that's the fifth principle. So the sixth, I just
the sixth one is art and science. Art and science means right and left brain, right? And the astonishing thing about Da Vinci is everything he touched, he was the top in the world at the time. Like, even his drawings, his anatomical drawings are used in medicine today as an inspiration. And
the way he made paint and mixed paint.
He experimented a lot, you know, like part of demonstration, the second virtue, had him do big boo-boos. We don't remember Da Vinci's for his failures. We remember him for his successes. But failing is a part of the creative process also. But his ability to be as much a scientist as an artist was the foundation of our perception of him as being a universal man. He was as much a scientist as he was an artist. And he understood both principles behind that. And in talking about abstract non-thought, when we look at Da Vinci, we realize that one is not better than the other. You need rational thought. If I'm driving a car or a plane, I want to fly it like a computer. I'm not going to start thinking abstractly. I want to drive my car and not run.
We need both sides of our brain, because if we're only right-brain creative artists, we can't get from here to there. So,
and a sign of genius is when somebody can shift from rational thought to abstract non-thought seamlessly, like a pendulum.
And be a whole brain being, really. So what's the seventh principle?
The seventh one is connaissance in French, connaission in Italian. Pardon my Italian.
What does it mean?
It's knowledge. Knowledge.
The owning of knowledge.
And that refers to the power of demonstration. What you wind up with through all of these qualities in this process is first-hand knowledge. And that's a quality also in creativity. Is you can rely on somebody else's research, but for it to be something that's incorporated in your personal creative voltage, if you wish, you have to experiment with it. You have to have acquired your knowledge from experience. Like a lot of people are in front of art and they say, oh, I can do that. Like, you know, if they look at a Kandinsky or Mondrian, oh, I can do that. But the difference between you and the artist is you can do it and the artist did it. And there's a whole process behind that eventually brought that study, whether it's a study in composition or color harmonics or whatever.
Well, then I'll go back to that first question. Why is it so important? How does, let's say, just Da Vinci's art change our reality, our notion of reality? What has it given us that has evolved our culture and our consciousness?
Well, I think that the most important thing that Da Vinci contributed, and I say this from the standpoint that I consider him a scientific and artistic avatar, all right? He showed that a human being can be as excellent as he wants to be, as extraordinary as he wants to be.
What you put into your photography, it's the essence of the light that comes out of these images.
That's right.
And so...
Well, that's my personal vision.
Yeah.
Okay? And it is influenced by a poetic lifestyle. You know, again, some people, it's for everybody, but not everybody will perceive it. But I think that the world is ready for transformational entertainment. You know, I'm a member of GATE, which is an organization out of Hollywood that's it's called the Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment. I believe that through entertainment, people are very receptive to new ideas, and that caters to the media diet that we have. Everybody says you are what you eat, in referring to your physical body, but we are also what we think. And the media diet we're subjected to when we listen to films, TV, etc., etc., we have to keep an eye on that. And GATE believes that if you change your media diet, you can change the world. Now, I was inspired by showing the transformation that man is going through when he redefines his relationship to the environment. And I try and do this in a poetic way. That's my vision.
So your pictures are about humanity redefining their relationship to the environment as being light beings, light essence, and full of spirit, really.
Exactly.
So you're showing the spirit emerge from your photography, which is all about the Da Vincian principles you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was trying to show.
Exactly. If some people see my photography and they start crying, it's because they're recognizing something that is either our future or they're recognizing something that's already within themselves.
Right.
I am reminding them of something. Part of that also deals with trying to create something that is timeless. And that depends on the source.
And the timeless images remind us of the timeless essence that we are.
Exactly.
That's beautiful, Claude.
If you look at, for instance, what happens when you go in a church or in a museum or at a concert, you're subjected to art, and that inspires you. In the Sixtine Chapel, it's a power area, and what is around you inspiring you is this link to the divine. It's the art that's around there, Michelangelo's ceiling, etc.
The architecture as well, everything.
Everything, yeah.
So people don't realize how powerful art is in our lives. A world without art would be an awful world.
It would be. And also the message there is that to have people take a good look at the creative lifestyle and try and implement this in their lives and believe in their vision. You know, we have fine examples of that. I was thinking the other day, a lot of people that hear about a project like this think I'm a little insane. But, you know, and that's okay. Now, some people are inspired, some not. But I was thinking the other day, if I was in front of you and I was saying, I need $100 million for a cool project that I have, and it's sort of a theme park, and the main attraction is going to be a mouse and a duck. Would you question my sanity?
Is that the main attraction, a mouse and a duck?
Well, that's a
question.
You would question, yeah, okay. But if I told you my mouse is going to be called Mickey Mouse and my duck is going to be called Donald Duck, you would start understanding and you would say, welcome to Disney World. Okay, but 75 years ago, Walt Disney was the only person realizing what he wanted to bring forth. And he had to convince everybody of that, and everybody thought he was insane, all right? Yeah. So that's a fine example. I don't want to build a theme park, and I don't want
You don't want to dwell on mouse, but you want to dwell on spirit, so
Yeah.
a theme park dwelling on spirit is not actually as impossible as a theme park about a mouse and a duck.
Well, I think the content is a little different and perhaps a little more inspiring.
Yes.
It might not be as family-oriented as Mickey Mouse, but I mean, that's just an example to show that when we have a content that is ready for its time, and I think that right now we need transformational entertainment. We need to change the diet that we're ingesting with our entertainment. I think that this project might be ready for its time. And there's a whole dimension to that that I cannot explain right now.
I'll put it on your website.
Yeah, exactly. People can visit my website.
Which is?
Well, the website of Tonal Visions is tonalvisions.blogspot.com, and they can learn about the project, and they also can learn how they can help and get involved in something like that if it turns them on.
Thank you, Claude. I've been talking to Claude Charlebois, and visionary poet, his project Tonal Visions, and also his workshops on the Da Vincian principles and the creative power in each one of us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation, and congratulations on your work.
Oh, yeah, this is part of my creativity, is to be in the present moment with people and receive what they have to offer. So I appreciate your focus on the creative aspect, because I don't think there's anything more important than the creative drive in each one of us. If they're going to change the world, the only way it's going to change is for all of us to be artists and create a new realities that way. So your website again is?
So my personal website is www.charlebois.ca, and the Tonal Visions website is tonalvisions.blogspot.com. Thank you, Claude.
I'm Alan Steinfeld for New Realities, talking to Claude Charlebois, visionary photographer and creative inspirer, really. That's what I feel. You inspire creativity in others, and there's nothing more important here on the planet. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and this is New Realities, and if you want to reach me, go to newrealities.com or email me at newrealities@earthlink.net. Thanks. You can roll the credits.
All great creative thinkers have gone beyond the limiting and the popular belief systems of today. The new Renaissance men and women are the people who operate from their own authority and express transcendence in every realm of their life. They are gifted with vision.
Life can be a magical event, a celebration of our oneness. I travel to natural wonders looking for this oneness. I speak with images and found there's visual poetry in everything that surrounds us. I hope to show how much greater we are than this reflection of what the world says we're supposed to be. I hope to offer a glimpse of our true identity. Tonal Visions is a multimedia photographic and poetic experience of light and sound that shows an expanded vision of ourselves, and I'd like to share this vision with you through my photographs and a poet's voice, the words of Kenneth G. Mills.
There is no reason you cannot see who you really are right now. There is no reason you cannot be what you really want to be right now. Thinking otherwise creates separation. Separation between the core of your human experience, your natural environment, and the eternal, the absolute.